Welcome to episode 5 of the Sports Geek podcast. On today's episode, we'll talk to Daniel Pinney from the Melbourne Storm about the Man of Steel and NRL State of Origin, and Nick Trawson from the Western Bulldogs on finding new fans using digital out west.
Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host who's reading your tweets right now, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. My name is Sean Callanan from Sports Geek. You can find me on Twitter at Sean Callanan. First of all, an apology. This episode was meant to go up yesterday, but I do think I have a pretty good excuse. I joked in the last, or DJ Joel joked in the last episode that I used more hashtags than Kobe Bryant. That may well continue because during the week playing hoops with my mates, I tore my Achilles, and so yesterday I spent it in hospital getting ultrasound and getting all checked out and getting my foot in plaster, and I'm now booked in for Achilles surgery early next week. So expect a few tweets, and I might even follow Kobe's lead and share the journey of the rehab along the way. So I'll definitely give the disclaimer if I'm going to share any gory stitch type photos, but keeping the feet up here at Sports Geek HQ. First of all, my first guest is Daniel Pinney from the Melbourne Storm, one of our clients. Daniel is the digital marketing manager for the Melbourne Storm, and he's going through a pretty big couple of weeks at the Melbourne Storm, primarily because the NRL, which is the National Rugby League, is currently going through its State of Origin series, which is a 3-game series between New South Wales and Queensland. For my US listeners and for the guys in the UK, this is a new average all-star game. This one actually matters. This is the pinnacle of the NRL, and it is, as we would say, completely fair dinkum. So the first Origin was taking place last Wednesday when this interview took place with Daniel, and we also talk about a promotion that the Storm are running this current weekend. Daniel Pinney on Halftime SEN.
Our sports digital media guru for sportsgeekhq.com.
Always on a Wednesday, and he's back again. Shawnee, g'day.
G'day, Huff. How you doing?
Going very well, thanks. You brought in a special guest with you today.
Yeah, I have. It's Origin Fever is hit.
Has it?
And we discussed Origin last year with the battle of the hashtags. Looks like they're going to go with one hashtag, but I've got Daniel Pinney in here from the Melbourne Storm.
G'day, Dan.
Hey, Half. Thanks for having me, mate.
Pleasure, mate. Thank you for coming in. Now, the Melbourne Storm, they've got a big week too, because not only is it Origin week, and we're very excited about that, even though we don't really live in New South Wales or Queensland, but we barrack for Queensland anyway because we've got players there. We've got Cam Smith's 250th on Sunday at Amy Park, which will be very, very exciting. And we've got these Superman tops I'm very excited about.
How good are they?
How good are they? Now, I didn't even know there was a new Superman movie out until I saw the photo of Cam Smith wearing the top.
Well, that's the whole idea.
That's a win for somebody.
Yeah, so that's the whole idea to sort of launch the movie that comes out on the 27th, I think.
27th of June, Village Cinemas.
Yeah, so he's done the plug, get the ching-ching. But yeah, so it's just pretty much I wanted to talk to Dan about one, I guess the difficulties of promoting a team and promoting all the things you're doing from a club point of view when you've got this massive event that is Origin. Yep. And, half your players, not half your players, but it has been for a while. Like we've got five players involved in Origin this year. They're not all on Queenslander. We've got to give a little bit of love to the Blues. Who's on the Blues, Dan?
Hoffy's representing the Blues tonight, so I've got to sit on the fence tonight.
Yeah, so we've got to give a little bit of love to the Blues, but yep, they are facing an uphill battle. We did talk hashtags last year where there was a mishmash and no one knew which hashtag. It looks like we've settled. Origin is the hashtag, people. If you want
Origin.
Just Origin.
Hashtag Origin.
Just use the hashtag Origin and you will be involved. If you don't want to listen to the Origin, then mute that hashtag and it should get rid of most of the traffic on Twitter.
Okay.
But yeah, so, Dan's job this week has sort of been promoting Origin, but then also promoting Cam Smith and the game coming up on Sunday with the Sharks. So how's that been from a balancing point of view?
Yeah, it's been a busy week from Monday, from the Man of Steel jersey launch, but still focusing on our players that are representing Origin tonight, still giving them some love. And then should Cam Smith get through tonight's game and he comes back and he plays on Sunday, so we're really celebrating that big milestone.
Are you allowed to lean one way in Origin?
We try not to, no, especially since we've got Hoffy on the Blues there. But
yes.
no, we're very
Neutral. You're
non-biased,
Switzerland.
yes.
But you have been asking the Melbourne Storm audience, I guess, via Twitter. So, send at Melbourne Storm a tweet. Tell them whether you're with the Blues with an Up the Blues hashtag or Queenslander with the Queenslander. Let the Storm know who they're going for. He might lean towards one way if all the Storm fans are leaning in one certain direction.
That's a good idea.
But yeah, he's going to be Switzerland tonight, and it's really just going to be barracking for the Storm guys and also that no injuries. Because, we do know that Cam Smith is Clark Kent. He will turn up on Sunday. He will bust out with the Man of Steel jersey, and he will play because it's just a phenomenal effort to be playing on Wednesday, then back it up on a Sunday.
I would like to see a phone box actually on the field on AAMI Park on Sunday. Can you do that for me?
Absolutely, yeah, on the sideline. I think that'd be
Get Cam
good.
to come out of that.
Each interchange. We'll do it.
There you go. There you go. But the digital interaction from the Melbourne Storm people, when we talk about it on SEN, the SMSs go berserk. The Purple Pride thing is going gangbusters. I'm not sure who came up with that, but if it was you, well done, because it works. If it was you, Sean, even better.
Well, I can't take credit. We actually asked the fans. It was before Dan's time, but we actually asked the fans. Like, we normally what we do when we're talking to teams, we say, what do people yell out in the stands? And so we go with a Go Pies, a Go Crows or whatever, and that's just pretty much becomes their hashtag.
Yep.
But we didn't go, is Go Storm work? We actually asked the fans and we said, do you want Go Storm? Do you want to, and they came back with Purple Pride. And so because they own that hashtag, they run with it all the time. So, Dan doesn't have to do too much to, tweak that Purple Pride. They'll go and use it as they want. So, but I think this week we're gonna bench Purple Pride. What are we going to go with this week, Dan?
Hashtag Cam250 if he gets up tonight. So
Okay,
from tomorrow,
good.
once we hear the injury report, then we'll be running with that in towards Sunday.
He's an amazing player, Cam Smith. You get to deal with him lots through the week, I would imagine. Is he the most favourite player of the Melbourne Storm faithful, or does Billy take that mantle?
Oh, it'd be a pretty close battle at the end. He's definitely popular this week, but they're both on Twitter. They both get a fair bit of love. They're both pretty interactive on their Twitter as well. Billy's there and Cam's there. So
I think Cam's been on a bit. Every time he gets bored in camp, they're like, "Hey Cam, I'm ready for the game. Can you retweet me?" And Cam just loves a retweet of the fans. But it's good because the fans know then he's interacting and reading what they're doing. So I think they're both growing in stature and what they can do. And that's the thing is if the fans know that they're listening and reading their tweets, they're more likely to follow and engage. And that's what we always talking about, fan engagement. Yeah,
engage.
So if you and one of the things that Dan's been trying to do as far as Melbourne is sports capital of the world, and that's what I tell people when I'm travelling around with so many teams, is to really to make sure that all sports fans in Melbourne adopt the Melbourne Storm as their team, as their NRL team. And so, a lot of the stuff that we've been doing the last couple of years has really been focused on that. And, so Dan can tell you about what we did from an Anzac Day point of view, sort of using digital to reach out to fans.
Yeah, we did. We had one of our best crowds this year following the Anzac Day game at the G. We did a lot of digital advertising, but interacted with the different AFL fans around Melbourne. We obviously know that AFL is a huge product, and we're quite happy where some of the fans are second side, but if they come along to a game or buy a membership, then that's even better. So we interacted with them as much as we could. The stuff on Twitter and Facebook was really great, and we got a really large walkover across the bridge from MCG.
Straight over the bridge after the game.
Yeah, that night was a great day out.
And they have been great games. I've been to a couple of Anzac Day games for the Storm, and they are great games against the Warriors every year because you never know what you're going to get from the Warriors at any given time. And
it is a true Anzac Day game. I mean, it is Australia v New Zealand, so it's really become a real marquee game for the Storm, and that's what we're sort of trying to do. And so if you've got nothing to do on Sunday, come along to the see the Sharks and see the Man of Steel jersey and have fun at the game.
Is it just Cam, the Man of Steel himself, wearing it, or is the whole team wearing it?
The whole team are wearing it.
Rightio. And you can buy those at the shop,
can you? Buy those online, melbournestormshop.com.au.
I might just be checking that out online. I think they're very trendy little tops, those. Thank you, boys, for coming in. Appreciate yours, Dan, particularly, for coming in. Good luck this week. Hope it goes well.
Thanks, Huff.
Remember, hashtag Cam250. And for you, Sean, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Huff.
Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources.
Thanks to Dan for coming into halftime for that one. Keep an eye on Cam250 over the weekend for Cameron Smith, the captain of the Melbourne Storm, 250th game. And I'll share in the show notes the Man of Steel jersey with the Superman S on the front of the jersey, a nice integration there by the Melbourne Storm. They did the similar thing last year. They had a Dark Knight themed jersey. So it's something that some of the teams do over here with a little bit of flexibility with what they can do with their jersey. Just a little bit on the NRL coverage from Wednesday night. Obviously, it was a big game on TV. A lot of people tuning in across Australia. Channel 9 actually ran with their jump-in mobile product. Did very well to actually get a lot of people to download that. It was offering almost near live replays of all things in the game, so a try or a major score. But the main difference was they're actually providing that replay available in slow motion and multiple angles. So it'll be interesting to see how broadcasters like Channel 9 use jump in. I think it definitely works from a sports point of view, but will there be traction for those kind of products outside the world of sports? From an NRL digital coverage point of view, the guys at the NRL set up a social media command centre, and we're doing a lot of activity on Facebook and Twitter. For mine, definitely from a Twitter point of view, they went a little bit overboard they did a couple of Twitter takeovers during the match, and it just got a little bit too much because most people were concentrating on the game. So with a lot of people just tuning into Origin for the first time, all year, so probably their first rugby game they might be watching, I think there was a little bit too much activity on Twitter, definitely with Twitter takeovers and things like that. But overall, I thought the coverage was pretty good. Like, I think they did a lot of good work sharing the scores and updates on Facebook. They definitely did have a very large contingent there, and I'll share a picture of the social media command centre in the show notes. So my next guest who joined us on ABC Grandstand is Nick Trilson, Chief Commercial Officer at the Western Bulldogs. He's got a strong background in digital and fan development, and he's doing a lot of work to develop a new fan base and attract new fans to the Western Bulldogs out in Melbourne's West using community and digital initiatives. So here is our chat with Nick Trilson on ABC Grandstand with Francis Leach.
Morning to Sean Callanan, Sports Geek HQ. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Francis.
It's a bit of a no-show from us last week.
Yeah.
Our digital communication failed us, but didn't fail you, so we apologise for that. But good to have you back in the studio.
No, that's okay. It's good to have a studio to be in.
Indeed, after last week. Always talking sport in the digital space with our man Sean Callanan each week, and it's an important place now for sports clubs to operate in, to maintain constant communication with their fans, because that's what fans demand now. We used to just turn up on a Saturday, watch our team, use that as our 3 hours of escape, go home, read the paper occasionally during the week, and turn up again the next week. Not so anymore.
Well, no, not so anymore. And the thing is that what we're finding is, as all these mediums are expanding, that the appetite for content is, voracious. The fans just want, we've seen the newspapers and the media keep providing more content. We've spoken about AFL media before, following the leads of Major League Baseball and the NFL. So it is very much a content game, but it is also a means to reach new fans and a growing space in the sports business world is fan development, because, we have got our rusted on, here you go, son, here's your jumper. That's who you're barracking for. This is what this is your lot in life.
Yeah, thanks, Mum.
Yeah.
Still living with that.
Yes, and
she's listening this morning. It's your fault.
My great-grandfather played for Collingwood. I did not have a choice, but I'm gladly accepting that responsibility as a Collingwood supporter. But, so there is a lot of that generational sponsorship, and that's where a lot of the traditional clubs have got, large fan bases from that. But then there's also fans that are new to the game and trying to find out about the game that are there to be won, and that's part of fan development.
And one area that's more prevalent is in the western suburbs of Melbourne, where the Western Bulldogs reside in the AFL, and their online and digital team have done remarkable things in turning their website into a gateway to the game itself. And the man who is in charge of digital at the Western Bulldogs, Nick Trilson, joins us here on Grandstand Breakfast this morning. G'day, Nick. How you going?
Very well. Good morning, gents. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you on. Now, previously you worked at other football clubs. I think you worked at the Bombers, didn't you, Nick, for a long time?
Yeah, I was at the Bombers for 4 years before coming across 2 years ago to the Bulldogs.
Just give us a sense of the different demands from the different clubs because of the sort of markets that they work in, and I guess the expectations from fans.
Well, I think there's definitely been, for a club like Essendon have had such a long-term success over a long period of time. They've been able to generate a huge fan base, definitely during that 60s, 70s and 80s time, whereas someone like us at the Bulldogs have had that one elusive premiership back in 54, and not having had that generational gap of success, it means that we have got a smaller fan base to some of the bigger clubs, but it also provides us with a great opportunity, as you mentioned before, with new digital content and availability. And the west of Melbourne we're so lucky now that there's 200,000 people moving into the west over the next decade, and it provides an opportunity that our clubs never had, and probably AFL itself hasn't had. So it gives us an opportunity to use digital platforms to engage new fans in the area and hopefully increase our fan base, which will also mean hopefully more members for us down the track.
So, Nick, in your role as Chief Commercial Officer, it's more than just digital. He's looking over everything down there at the Bulldogs. From a strategy point of view, what are you trying to do to really target that region? And, we've discussed before how easy it is to, get fans to like and follow and those kind of things on the digital platforms. But what are you doing from a fan development to reach those, 200,000 people that are moving into the region? It's a really big opportunity for the Bulldogs. What are you doing from an events and a community point of view, and how is digital weaved into that?
Well, traditionally we've been really strong, I suppose, being seen as a community club of the AFL. We do a lot of work already in that area, and such a high portion of that 200,000 will be newly arrived immigrants. So our community programs will be really important. We've also got to understand that the west, some of the areas from a connectivity aren't that fantastic either. So we've got to get that balance between the online and offline side of it. And we do a lot of work with schools. We've got nearly 60 schools as part of our schools program. So if there's that offline balance, but the online balance where we're really driving a lot. And as all teams do, they have a fantastic amount of fans who are really passionate about their brand. So we're making sure that we do really connect with them, whether it's via Twitter or Facebook. And when we can share their content when they're out and about in the West, we make sure we do.
And just with that fan engagement, when a team's doing it tough like the Dogs have done in recent times, big win last weekend, but prior to that I think it was 17 or so games, you'd only had one win in that time. How do you go about maintaining enthusiasm, particularly in a market that's yet to be emotionally committed necessarily to the cause?
Yeah, I think, and as I sort of mentioned before, every team's got really passionate fans. So you've really just got to make sure that you continue the engagement, and you sort of see it as a great opportunity. I mean, I'm always amazed by the content that our team, especially from a video point of view, we probably decided 18 months ago we wanted to be seen as the most fan-centric team in the AFL, and video content, which we'd seen with the NBA, etc., had been such a big driving force. And our unique browsers that people come to our site is definitely in the bottom quartile, but we're sort of in the top 8 when it comes to video content. So really driving that mantra from our good friend John O. Simpson of content of choice, platform of choice, and that keeps what we want to make sure we're doing. But we've got to also find ways to engage when we have how we result-proof ourselves. So good example you just mentioned, Francis, we haven't had a great amount of success in the last year, but how do you change that conversation? So if you are losing, what are some of the great things you can look at? And, young Jake Stringer kicking 3 goals in his third quarter in his second game really gave us that opportunity. A small thing to show some of his video highlights, which even though we lost the game, fans actually got excited about where we're going in the future.
So you change the story, repackage it and send it out there and give people a different view of things.
Well, I think making sure our digital team are terrific in making sure they're part of the conversation. So, yes, of course, the conversation might be going one way, but then if you can throw those things in, people actually start to see, well, actually, I can actually see where the Bulldogs are going. They're sticking to their real focus of rebuilding and with their young team. And I think we're lucky that, we've Rovat and Jackson McRae and Stringer, there's 3 kids who played in their first winning game last week, showing that team song after the game with them in the middle of it. Was one of our biggest video stories of the year so far.
Yeah, we've used it before. Seth Godden's line, amplify the positive deviance, and I think that is a great line when you have got those fans that are going to be there through thick and thin. And one of the ways I guess you sort of reached out to those fans with the Rock Your Heartland activation that you did on the site, where the fans could show their pride in the Bulldogs and pin jerseys across the map of Melbourne. How did you find that, and what were the main goals of that sort of campaign, and what can you tell us of how it went?
I think the good thing about that sort of campaign is that it links into our brand campaign of Our Heartland being our membership slogan for the year, and the fact that Our Heartland is all about the 5 council areas of the West and how we can tell that story. And a US digital company, Inscam, have actually been doing this campaign with a couple of US teams, including the Phoenix Suns, and it's a great example of reinforcing that when you do see fans pin their favourite Guernsey, one, it's a good marketing opportunity for us to see who are the players that they're pinning, but it also gives us the opportunity to reinforce that so many of our fans do live in the Western region. We want to make sure we're engaging with fans, whether they live in the US or in Melbourne, but we do know in the West that 45 of our top 50 membership suburbs are from the Western region. So it does reinforce that opportunity for us, and it uses a digital platform for us to show how that works.
Nick, thanks for being on. Great work, and as Dogs fans all over the country are really appreciative of being able to be at the club whenever they want, when they just to click away on their PC or their iPad or iPod or whatever device they're using. Thanks for being on the show, and good luck in Darwin tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys. Cheers.
Nick Trilson, Chief Commercial Officer at the Western Bulldogs, driving their digital strategy, which seems to be working a treat. Good on you, Sean. Where can people find you in the digital sports sphere?
SportsGeekHQ.com.
You're listening to the Sports Geek Podcast. Tag your tweets, SGP.
Thanks again to Nick Trilson for joining us on ABC Grandstand. I really do like the strength that the Western Bulldogs have got in their community programs and how they've now adapted their digital to really play on those strengths. 200,000 people moving into your backyard, it's a really big opportunity for Nick and the Bulldogs. So the things that Nick talked about will be in the show notes. If you're looking up what he was talking about, they will be in the show notes, which will be sportsgeekhq.com/5. So it's been a big week at Sports Geek HQ despite the Achilles injury. Earlier in the week we did launch with the Adelaide Crows Core using Digital Cheer Squad, gamifying the social activity of the Crows fans. Really good response from the Crows fans, similar to what we've got previously with the Eagles and Cowboys and Rabbitohs and the Auckland Blues. So we'll keep you up to date on how that's going. Also, I'll have some feedback because we just kicked off a Twitter campaign using Twitter ads for the Melbourne Storm for actually that Man of Steel game and that Cam 250. So I do believe they're the first Australian sports team to experiment with Twitter ads. So it was good to have a little bit of an insight into what's available and that cost per engagement model. Early signs are that most fans are clicking on the link and we're getting most of the engagement on the link and driving traffic. So it'll be interesting to see, and I'll share some of those results. And if you want to have a little bit more info, I'm actually thinking about running a webinar to sort of explain the different parts of Twitter advertising that are available and how sports teams can use them. Over the next week, I don't know how I'll be going post-surgery, but again, I'm hoping that there will be another podcast out late next week, if all goes well. Again, running the similarities to Kobe Bryant, he did his Achilles and went and nailed 2 free throws. Well, I did my Achilles, and the next morning I turned up and did some training with the Socceroos who are in Melbourne for the World Cup qualifiers. So hopefully I see a few tweets on Tuesday when I'm waiting for surgery. So follow the hashtag #GoSocceroos and see if the players heeded some of my comments and connected with the fans. But they were all pretty good guys, and it was really, really good to talk to a guy like Tim Cahill, who plays in New York in the MLS and one of the big stars on the Socceroos, to really understand how important it is to, one, connect with the fans from a community point of view, but then he did also realise the effect that he can have by sending out a tweet just before the match to say, I'm looking forward to the support, and one to follow up afterwards. So that's it from Sports Geek HQ next week. Hopefully I'll be back on deck, or at least back behind the desk, to record another podcast. Again, thank you very much for all the feedback that I've got from Twitter and emails and the like. I've got a few really good guests coming up over the next couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to speaking to the Oakland Athletics around a promotion they're doing in the next couple of weeks, as well as some other people both in the US and the UK. So you can get all the show notes at sportsgeekhq.com/5. And thanks again for all the people who are sharing and telling other people about the podcast. I really do appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
Please leave a review on iTunes. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes. Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources. Thanks for listening to the Sports Geek Podcast.